And now let's explore the wonderful world of the psyche. Psyche originates from the Greek word meaning soul, breath, or mind. The term psyche reflects a holistic view of human experience, and Psyche's story in Greek mythology is known as the goddess of soul and embodies self-discovery, resilience, and personal growth, symbolizing the balance of physical and spiritual beauty. And her journey offers insight into the ancient Greek values of character, emotional resilience, and mental aptitude, revealing the psyche as a blend of strong mind, spirit, and emotional depth. And when you look at these attributes, you're reminded of the journey that your favorite hero goes through in your favorite movie or novel. It seems that the test is more of the soul, the mind, and the spirit than physical prowess. Isn't this what Luke Skywalker went through, or Jack in Titanic, or Jon Snow in Game of Thrones? The psyche is foundational in understanding human behavior, emotions, and mental processes, influencing our responses to life's challenges and overall health. And recognizing the interconnectedness of these components is crucial, as the state of our psyche can significantly affect our physical health. When we look at somebody with anxiety or depression, we often say, this person's not healthy. This person could be super lean, eating salads, going for walks, taking supplements, but they have anxiety or depression. And we don't look at them as a picture of health. So why is that? Understanding the psyche enables us to appreciate how our thoughts, our feelings, and spiritual beliefs contribute to our overall well-being, emphasizing the need for a holistic approach to health that considers emotional and psychological factors. Psychology evolved from philosophy and physiology, exploring perception, sensation, and reality. Philosophers like René Descartes asked questions about mind-body duality and perception, while physiology brought scientific methods to predict outcomes and observe patterns. Together, they shaped psychology as a study grounded in philosophical inquiry and scientific observation. Psychology's roots trace back to early human curiosity about behavior and its causes. Ancient thinkers often viewed gods or spirits as controlling forces behind human actions, marking the first attempts to explain behavior through external animistic beliefs. Plato said that the mind or soul is distinct in its own right and is God-given. It enters the body with its reflected perfection of God and rules the body which it inhabits as knower, thinker, and determiner of actions. And he said that the soul is composed of three parts: the head, the heart, and the diaphragm or the abdomen. And this kind of sounds like the narrative nowadays of the three brains. We often call the three brains as the brain itself, the heart, and the abdomen. So the three brains theory in alternative health narratives kind of matches what Plato said about the three souls. Aristotle, a student of Plato, identified three functions of the soul: the vegetative soul, basic life functions; the appetitive soul, motives and desires; and the rational soul, governing function for reasoning. And he believed that the brain managed just the minor processes, while the soul directed the mind and the body. Galen linked human temperament to the bodily humors or vital fluids. Sanguine means you're cheerful. This is blood. Phlegmatic, you're calm and sluggish like phlegm. Melancholic, you're sad like black bile. And choleric, irritable, hot-tempered like yellow bile. He believed that the variations in these humors influence behavior and mood. And we often would also think about the vital fluids in Ayurveda and traditional Chinese medicine. And then we would also look at Stoicism, which is actually a philosophy, but feels like it really fits in psychology. Stoicism was a Hellenistic philosophy that flourished in ancient Greece and ancient Rome. It taught that virtue is the key to a well-lived life, emphasizing four main virtues: wisdom, temperance, courage, and justice. It was founded by Zeno of Citium around 300 BCE. Stoics believed that virtue alone led to true happiness and resilience in the face of hardship. They saw external goods like wealth and health as neutral, valuable only for practicing virtue. And key figures like Seneca, Epictetus, and Emperor Marcus Aurelius embodied this approach, which saw revivals in both the Renaissance and today. Stoicism emphasizes self-control and fortitude to overcome destructive emotions, advocating for clear thinking to align with universal reason. And central to Stoicism is the belief that virtue is found in harmony with nature, which extends to interpersonal relationships by promoting freedom from anger, envy, and jealousy. The Stoic perspective is deterministic. Individuals lacking virtue are compared to a dog tied to a cart, compelled to follow. This person has a slave mind. A Stoic of virtue, by contrast, would amend his will to suit the world and remain, in the words of Epictetus, sick and yet happy, in peril and yet happy, dying and yet happy, in exile and yet happy, in disgrace and yet happy, thus positing a completely autonomous individual will, a will of choice. And one of the tenets of Stoicism is amor fati, love your fate, embracing one's life circumstances, including suffering and challenges, as necessary and meaningful parts of existence rather than obstacles to happiness. You are what you make your life. And Stoicism is a powerful mind biohack and is one of my favorite ways to keep myself centered and sane and always in the optimum state of mind, and is very much embraced by the modern world, popularized by the book The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday, emphasizing the timeless value and efficacy of mastering your mind through virtue. We also look at theology. St. Augustine combined Platonic philosophy with Christian thought, using introspection to explore the faculties of the soul, such as will, memory, imagination, laying the groundwork for faculty psychology. St. Thomas Aquinas integrated Aristotelian ideas with Christian theology, emphasizing reason and the immortality of the soul, which further shaped early psychological thought. The pre-modern period will find the likes of René Descartes, who formulated a theory of mind-body interaction, or biological psychology. Others would be John Locke, David Hume, and George Berkeley and his idea of immaterialism. All knowledge comes from perception. What we perceive are ideas. They are not things in themselves. A thing in itself must be outside experience. So the world only consists of ideas and minds that perceive those ideas. So a thing only exists so far as it perceives or it is perceived. Again, I wanted to emphasize perception because perception is such an important part of what I'm going to teach you today. Perception, perception, perception. And that brings us to modern psychology, also referred to as scientific psychology. Wilhelm Maximilian Wundt was a German physiologist, philosopher, and professor, one of the fathers of modern psychology. Wundt, who distinguished psychology as a science from philosophy and biology, was the first person ever to call himself a psychologist. Then we have Sigmund Freud, Austrian neurologist and the founder of psychoanalysis, a clinical method for evaluating and treating pathologies seen as originating from conflicts in the psyche through dialogue between patient and psychoanalyst. Freud also believed that dreams are a key to understanding the unconscious mind, serving as a means of wish fulfillment that reveals repressed desires and unresolved conflicts. This insight laid the groundwork for psychoanalysis, highlighting the importance of dream interpretation in psychological healing. How I wish he met Dr. Hammer. I wish that they lived at the same time because there are so many parallels. Key milestones in psychology include Pavlov's studies on conditioning in 1900, John Watson's behaviorist perspectives in 1913, Hans Berger's introduction of EEG in 1928, and Abraham Maslow, who is best known for developing the hierarchy of needs, a psychological theory that prioritizes human motivations ranging from basic physiological needs to self-actualization. His work emphasizes the importance of fulfilling these needs for personal growth and well-being. And I really want to emphasize these physiological needs because there really is something to what Maslow also was teaching. The timeline of psychological studies illustrates the evolution of understanding human behavior and mental processes. René Descartes laid the foundation for biological psychology, linking mind and body. Sir Francis Galton introduced inheritable traits, paving the way for genetics in psychology. Pavlov's work on conditioning defined behavioral psychology, while Max Wertheimer and Wolfgang Köhler contributed to Gestalt psychology, emphasizing perception. Fast forward to Jean Piaget, advanced cognitive psychology through developmental studies, and Richard Duke, who emphasized sociocultural psychology, investigating the influence of culture on behavior. Needless to say, the human psyche has been of great interest in the pursuit of the study of the human being and ultimately the optimization of health. Well, how much is your psyche worth? Recent analyses estimate U.S. mental health spending at $280 to $330 billion, covering outpatient and inpatient treatments, medication, and therapy. Around $30 billion is allocated annually to outpatient services, while significant resources go toward inpatient care, emergency interventions, and pharmaceuticals. This spending reflects a growing recognition of mental health's importance and efforts to meet diverse needs across psychological and psychiatric care. And all that money and nothing seems to be improving or working. In fact, it seems like no one is getting better, and the cases seem to be exponentially increasing with no hope of improvement in sight. So where is this money actually going? When you ask health institutions, they recommend stress management and work-life balance to improve mental and emotional well-being. So they promote practices like mindfulness, physical activity, 1 hour a day, clear your work boundaries to prevent burnout, and try techniques such as deep breathing, time management, and regular breaks, which will help manage daily stress. And this will support resilience and long-term wellness. Well, it's been decades of time management and work-life balance, but nothing seems to be working. When we talk about strengthening your immune system, immediately people will say, oh, just eat fruits and vegetables, hydrate more, take vitamins and minerals, take supplements, go for walks, exercise an hour a day, don't drink, don't smoke, wear a face mask, sleep early, take medication for your cold, cough, or flu, manage your stress, and stay updated on your vaccines. But something just doesn't add up. How many of you know people who are health freaks or even health coaches who do these practices diligently and still get sick? Or they even die from a heart attack or get cancer. But you're fit as a fiddle. How can you get sick? How can he die? And then you have your next door neighbor who's 85, smokes and drinks, eats anything in front of the TV, and lives to 105. Then there are people in provinces or unhygienic areas who don't have money to buy expensive supplements or a spa date every month and are completely healthy. We know about immunity. We know about the psyche. And there is never a cure for cancer after decades of running marathons and finding a cure. But we spend trillions of dollars every year and we never get it right. And why does it feel like we've gotten worse? We've gotten weaker. With all of the trillions of dollars spent on research and products to increase immunity, why couldn't COVID be prevented? And there is so much money spent on adaptive immunity when we're looking at adaptation in all the wrong places. And that's because we don't have an immune system.